Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another Season 8 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today, I'll be covering support Nami, the Tidecaller.
Sometimes you're the catch.
Sometimes you're the bait. Nami's a support champion with some really good crowd control, which makes her a great engager and peeler. She has the option of helping your team engage into a fight, or if in a bad position, she can always run away and peel for them as well. She's also got some good poke damage, which also sustains her allies as well, which comes from her Ebb and Flow. It's very strong throughout the lane phase and can make it pretty easy for you. Then finally, Nami's also able to empower both herself and her teammates. This will allow either herself or her allies to do some bonus magic damage and also slow the enemy. Now Nami, however, is a very squishy and immobile champion. That means throughout the lane phase and in team fights, she has to be very careful of where she positions, because if somebody gets on top of her and she doesn't have any peeling, she will be dead. Also, although she is really strong in the lane phase with her Ebb and Flow, she is pretty mana hungry as well, so she has to be very careful when using her abilities because they will cost her a lot of mana. But either way, despite these cons, Nami is pretty strong in this meta. As for my runes, I like to go for Sorcery and Inspiration, grabbing Summon Airy as my keystone. This is a really strong keystone on Nami because it will add a little bit of damage into your poke, or it will add a nice little shield on top of your allies whenever you heal them. It's really strong in both offensive and defensive situations. I then like to follow up by getting Mana Flow banned, so whenever I hit an enemy champion with an ability, it'll permanently increase my maximum mana. Nami, like I said, is a pretty mana hungry champion, and this will help with it just a little bit. I then like to go for Celerity because you are a pretty immobile champion, and this 1.5% extra movement speed can help you move around team fights and get in positions to get off your bubble. Then I finish up the inspiration side by getting Scorch, so my poke damage will be a little bit stronger with the burn that it provides. Now as for my secondary, I like to go for Inspiration to get Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. This will give you free boots at 10 minutes, so you'll save just a little bit of extra gold, and Cosmic Insight is really nice because of the extra cooldown reduction. In hard matchups, you may want to go for Resolve instead and get things like Bone Plating, but when you can, go for Inspiration. For your summoner spells, you'll first want to pick up Flash. Like previously mentioned, Nami is a pretty squishy and immobile champion, so Flash can be used throughout the game to save your life over and over again if you get caught in a bad position. You do also have the option of using it offensively as well and flashing forward so you're in position to land your bubble on an enemy for your team to follow up and delete. As for your second summoner spell, I'd pretty much always go for Ignite. It's really strong in the bottom lane right now and will add some really nice kill pressure into the bottom lane. If you were against some late game hyper carries like a Tryndamere or a Vayne, you could still of course go for Exhaust to shut down their damage, but usually you'll want to go for Ignite. Now let's look at her abilities, starting with her passive, Surging Tides. This makes it so all allied champions touched by any of Nami's abilities gain 60 plus 20% AP bonus movement speed for 1.5 seconds, doubled when touched by Tidal Wave. So this here is a pretty decent passive for your teammates because they will get a nice chunk of movement speed whenever you cast a spell on them. This can be a great way to help your carries kite enemies, or you can use it on champions trying to engage into team fights as well. As it states, this is doubled when touched by your Tidal Wave, so in team fights this will give your team some really nice added mobility, which is great for moving around the team fights. Next up would be your Q, Aqua Prison. When activated, Nami sends a bubble towards the targeted area, dealing magic damage to all enemies hit, revealing them and suspending them for 1.5 seconds. This ability here is a really strong part of Nami's kit because it is an AoE crowd control, and if you can hit multiple targets with it, you're going to be very strong in teamfights. This is also great when used as a peel as well, because if something like an assassin jumped onto your AD carry, you can bubble them off that target and they'll then be able to kite away. Therefore, against certain champions, you may want to save this as a defensive peel, but of course it's great when used to engage as well, because if you land it on the enemy, your team can follow up and usually delete them. Next here we have your W, Ebb and Flow. When activated, Nami unleashes a stream of water onto the target champion or herself, which then bounces to nearby unaffected champions up to twice, alternating between enemies, allies, and herself. Ebb and Flow heals allies and deals magic damage to enemies, with each bounce being 85% plus 7.5% per 100 AP, as effective as the previous one. So this here is another really strong part of your kit, especially in the lane phase. It'll do some really annoying poke damage, which is hard for the enemy to deal with, while also sustaining yourself and your ally at the same time. Therefore, during that lane phase, you'll want to pretty much be spamming this ability whenever you can to keep yourself sustained, your ally, and to also damage enemies. Next would be your E, Tidecaller's Blessing. When activated, Nami blesses a target allied champion or herself for 6 seconds, causing her target's next 3 basic attacks to each deal bonus magic damage and slow their target for 1 second. This here is a pretty decent ability, but it's probably the weakest one in our kit, so we want to max this one last. It is still pretty decent, however, because 3 basic attacks dealing bonus damage and slowing can increase your dueling by quite a bit, or of course one of your allies. It is great when you throw it on your AD carry because they will get some movement speed from your passive, and these attacks will slow, so kiting for them will be a lot easier than it would have been normally. Therefore, whenever I use this ability, usually I do throw it on my AD carry, but it's great on all targets. And that finally brings us to our ultimate, Tidal Wave. When activated, Nami summons a Tidal Wave that surges forth, dealing magic damage to all units it hits, knocking them up for 0.5 seconds, and slowing them for between 2 and 4, based on the distance traveled, seconds. Now this here is a really solid ultimate because it's a great way to help your team engage or disengage. A 0.5 second knockup plus a between 2 and 4 second slow pretty much makes it impossible for the enemy to run away if you're trying to engage. That will of course remain true when you're trying to run away as well, because you can't really follow somebody when you're slowed for that duration. Therefore, you want to use this ability whenever you're trying to engage into a fight with your team, or you're trying to run away from an enemy and they're trying to chase you. For your skill order, you first want to put a point into your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. Then focus on maxing your W ability as quickly as possible because it's some really solid poke damage throughout the lane phase and some great sustain. Then focus on maxing your E ability second because the damage per hit and the slow percentage scale, so you definitely want points in that ability as quick as you can after your W. So that of course means you want to save your Q ability for last, but take an early point in the ability at level 3 so you can use it as a way to engage or to peel when needed. Now let's look at some of your AD carry synergies, and first up is Draven. Draven's going to work great with Nami because whenever you put your E ability on him, he will get even more damage onto his auto attacks, which are already out of control, and he'll also slow people. You then have all sorts of great sustain to help him through that lane phase, and whenever you land your bubble, he can follow up and do a ton of damage to the target and get yourselves some really easy kills. For the next synergy here, we've got Jinx. Your Tidecaller's Blessing's also going to work great with Jinx because yet again she will slow the target, but she can get those 3 attacks off really quickly with her attack speed, so she has really strong quick trades. Then if you do manage to land your bubble on a target, she can follow up with her Flame Chompers and you guys will be able to CC that target for a pretty long duration and usually end up getting a kill. Next here, we've got Lucian. Lucian's a really strong champion in the early and the mid game, and you'll make him even stronger with yet again your Tidecaller's Blessing. It'll make his trades even more effective, and the slow will allow him to keep on the target even easier. You of course also have your Ebb and Flow to keep him sustained throughout the lane phase, so a Lucian go very aggressive, trade very often, and you can just sustain him back, and the enemy is not going to have a great time. And for the last synergy, we've got Twitch. Twitch is great with Nami because when he is in stealth, you can use your Tidecaller's Blessing to give him those charges and also some nice movement speed so he can engage really easily, pop out of stealth, and delete targets. If you can manage to land your Aqua Prison on a target right before he comes out of stealth, that target is almost certainly dead. He's not the most mobile champion out there however, so use your abilities to keep him safe and peel for him when needed. During the lane phase, you want to keep your AD carry safe while also keeping them sustained with your Ebb and Flow. If possible, you want to have the enemy somewhat near so it will bounce to them and deal some decent damage while also sustaining yourself and your ally. When you're then going for trades, you want to give Tidecaller's Blessing to either your AD carry or yourself to apply a slow and deal bonus magic damage. Also, look for an opportunity to land your Aqua Prison whenever you can. If possible though, you want to use it after the enemies use their cooldowns to increase the chances of it landing. Keep in mind though, against things like assassins, you may want to use this as a way to peel and not engage. When teamfighting on Nami, you'll usually want to stay on your team's backline and poke and sustain with your Ebb and Flow. Look for a good opportunity to crowd control the enemy team with both your Aqua Prison and your Tidal Wave. They can both hit multiple targets, which can add a lot of kill pressure in teamfights. Keep in mind, however, that your abilities are also great for peeling as well, so if you're trying to get your team out of a bad situation, you can always use your Tidal Wave behind you and try to escape that way. Like I previously mentioned, you may also want to hold on to Aqua Prison as a way to peel and not as a way to engage. Now let's look at some of your hard matchups, and first up is Blitzcrank. Blitz can be a pretty big problem for you because you are a very squishy champion and you don't have a lot of mobility, so if he's able to grab you, you may just end up dying instantly. Therefore, you want to play the lane pretty passively and only poke when you know it's safe, be positioned behind minions, and make sure you're nowhere near him because if you're grabbed, you're going to lose the lane. For the next hard matchup here, we've got Sona. Sona's a lot like you in the sense that she has some really good poke damage and some great sustain. She does get a nice shield whenever she activates her W as well, so I would say she's a little bit better at trading than you are. She's also got an insane amount of kill pressure whenever she has her ultimate, so whenever she is level 6 you have to play very carefully. Don't get too close to Sona because if you're both stunned in the ultimate, you will definitely lose that fight. And for the last hard matchup here, I've got Zyra. Zyra's a champion that has a lot of kill pressure on you if she lands her root, and she can even 100 to 0 you, so your sustain doesn't matter too much if she lands a full combo. Her plants become even stronger when she does have her ultimate, so if she is level 6 and has her ultimate available, play very carefully because if you are fully comboed, you will be dead. Alright, now let's finish this off with the item build, which starts with a Spell Thief's Edge, health potions, and a warding totem. This is definitely the best starting item on Nami because you will get some nice ability power, gold generation, and mana regeneration. Whenever you poke an enemy champion, you'll also deal some additional magic damage and be granted 10 gold on unique spellcast. This can give you even more gold income, and since it is so easy to poke on Nami, you can get yourself some nice gold and upgrade this rather quickly. For your core items, you have the Ardent Censer, Redemption, and Remnant of the Watchers. Ardent Censer is a really solid item on Nami because you'll get some ability power, cooldown reduction, and yet again some mana regeneration. It'll also increase your healing power as well by 8% and give you 8% bonus movement speed, which helps a bit with your low mobility issue. The best part about this item, however, is the fact that whenever you heal or shield an ally, they will be granted 10 to 30 bonus attack speed, and will even do extra magic damage on hit, which works great when you combo with your E. Then pick up the Redemption because you get some really solid stats as well with 10% cooldown reduction, and yet again that heal and shield power. It's also fantastic as well because you can call down an AoE heal as well to keep your team sustained when you're going for things like Baron or in team fights. Of course, then you also have Remnant of the Watchers thrown in there as well because this is your gold generator that allows you to ward, so it is a must buy. Now, in between these core items, of course you will want to pick up your boots. You can go for Boots of Mobility if you're looking for easier engages with that movement speed, or Ninja Tabis against high AD teams, or Merc Treads against high AP and CC heavy teams. You do also have the option of going for your Boots of Mobility before you even go for one core item if you want to spend some time roaming and trying to get picks with your Aqua Prison. Now, in that item pool, you first have the Fiend's Unholy Grail. This is a pretty solid item because you get some nice defensive stats and cooldown reduction and mana regeneration. You can also get blood charges on this item as well, and when you do hit max, whenever you heal or shield an ally, it will be consumed and give them a really nice heal. You will also get some nice ability power per 25% base mana regeneration you have, and from your items you do have a lot, so it can give you a nice chunk of AP. Then, like all the other support champions out there, you could pick up a Locket. It is really solid because you can give an AoE shield to your team, and it's great in team fights. If there is a lot of crowd control on the enemy team, you could always pick up a Mikhail's. This will allow you to take a crowd control off an ally, so if they were targeted by one, you can break them free, and then they can start kiting. If you then want help finding picks, you could always go for Twin Shadows. This will release ghosts that when they hit a target will slow and reveal them, so this is a great way to get a pick onto a target with your bubble if they are far from you. Then finally, you could always get Zeke's Convergence. This is pretty solid because it will empower attacks of whoever you're connected to, and you will also create a storm that slows and damages. It's all around a pretty decent item. For my example full build though, I go for Ardent Censer, then I choose my boots, get a Redemption, then Remnant of the Watchers, Athene's Unholy Grail, and Locket of the Iron Solari. You will be a very supportive champion, and your heals will be healing your allies for quite a lot, and you will also be able to call down an AoE heal and make an AoE shield. It is a very strong supportive build and can buff your team in all sorts of different ways. And that's all I've got for Nami. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and visit my video description below. I have a link to all my social medias, and I do also have a Discord server, so that's one you should definitely check out. But other than that, thank you guys a ton for watching. I really do appreciate it, so take it easy, have a good day, and peace.